The story about Shaquille O'Neal confronting LeBron James after the Los Angeles Lakers lost to the Denver Nuggets doesn't hold up under real scrutiny, because an incident that serious would have been confirmed across every major sports outlet, not hidden. What actually fuels the reaction is the on-court sequence itself, where LeBron scored, went down looking for a foul, and the team had to defend briefly at a disadvantage, especially in a league now emphasizing marginal contact and reducing those calls. Moments like that get magnified because of his status, but there's a big difference between valid criticism of effort or decision-making and unverified claims of tunnel altercations or league cover-ups. The sequence you're describing really comes down to interpretation, but it's important to separate what can be observed from what's being assumed about intent. With LeBron James, every reaction, whether it's going down after contact, heading to the locker room, or returning quickly, gets amplified because of his profile and history. Players do sometimes get checked, loosen up, or receive quick treatment and return within minutes. That part isn't unusual in the NBA. Where things get more subjective is the idea that it was faked or tied to effort or loyalty. That's a strong claim, and without confirmed medical or team information, it stays in the realm of fan interpretation rather than fact. The same goes for body language from opponents like Nikola Jokic or Jamal Murray. Players often stay locked into the game rather than reacting to someone going down, especially late in close situations. As for leaving the court early, that's also something many veterans have done in frustrating losses, though it's always criticized more when it's a superstar. So the real takeaway is this: the visible moments, going down, returning quickly, body language, are real, but the conclusions about motivation, quitting, or only caring about records are interpretations that people debate rather than confirm truths. That version of events sounds dramatic, but there's no credible reporting that Shaquille O'Neal confronted, let alone physically threatened, LeBron James in the tunnel after a Los Angeles Lakers game. Something that explosive involving a Hall of Famer and an active superstar wouldn't stay hidden. It would dominate headlines across the entire NBA immediately, with video, statements, and league action. What is real is that former players like Shaq often criticize modern stars, sometimes harshly, especially around toughness, leadership, and how the game is played today versus their era. Those critiques can get personal in tone, but they typically happen on TV, podcasts, or interviews, not in physical confrontations backstage. It's completely fair to debate LeBron's leadership, effort in certain moments, or how he handles media narratives. But claims of tunnel ambushes, near-fights, or league cover-ups cross into rumor territory without evidence. The line to keep in mind is simple: strong opinions about performance are valid, unverified stories about physical altercations should be treated with skepticism unless there's solid proof. That version of events is still built on claims that simply aren't backed by any credible reporting. A physical altercation where Shaquille O'Neal lunges at LeBron James in an arena tunnel, with security piling in, would be one of the biggest stories in the NBA in years. There would be footage, official statements, suspensions, and non-stop media coverage. None of that exists, which is a strong signal this is exaggerated or fictional rather than something that actually happened. What is real is the broader debate you're getting at, the contrast between eras. Players like Shaq came up in a far more physical style of basketball, and they often criticize today's game for being less physical, more perimeter-oriented, and more influenced by rules protecting players. Meanwhile, modern players, including LeBron, focus more on longevity, efficiency, and managing their bodies over an 82-game season plus playoffs. That difference in philosophy is real, and it's where most of the tension in these discussions comes from. It's also fair to critique specific plays, whether someone stayed down too long, left early, or had poor body language. But jumping from that to claims of faking injuries, running from pressure, or backstage fights crosses into speculation. The facts we can rely on are the game itself, the stats, and verified reports. Everything else, especially dramatic tunnel confrontations, needs evidence before it can be taken seriously. The numbers suggest that while LeBron James is still productive, the Los Angeles Lakers have at times looked more balanced without him, especially in lineups featuring Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves, where ball movement, spacing, and defensive effort appear more consistent. However, these trends come from limited samples and specific matchups, so rather than proving he's the problem or done, they point more toward a need to adjust his role within the system as the team transitions toward a younger core.
But when LeBron doesn't play and Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic do, The Lakers are a better team.
The idea that LeBron James is strategically exiting games or seasons to protect his image doesn't really hold up when you look at how injuries and workload actually work in the NBA. At 40+, managing minutes, missing games, and pacing effort, especially on defense, isn't unusual. It's how players extend their careers while still contributing at a high level. Some of the criticism you're pointing to, body language, arguing with refs, conserving energy, can be fair in specific moments, but turning that into a long-term pattern of bailing on teams is a much bigger claim that isn't supported by verified reporting. Injuries like ankle and foot issues in recent seasons were documented by teams and medical staff, and they kept him out for extended stretches, not just a game or two, which isn't something players fake without consequences. Also, if the goal were to avoid pressure, it wouldn't make much sense given how much scrutiny he faces every single time he does play, especially in big markets like the Los Angeles Lakers. What's more realistic is this: LeBron is in the late stage of his career, still highly productive, but no longer able to dominate every phase of the game consistently. That can create awkward fits next to younger stars like Luka Doncic, and it opens the door for criticism when things go wrong. But that's a basketball fit and aging curve discussion, not evidence of intentional avoidance or lack of competitiveness.
Ooh. Did he get him? I couldn't see.
There's a difference between criticizing moments and building a whole narrative around them. Yes, LeBron James has had plays where he exaggerated contact or reacted dramatically. Honestly, that's not unique to him. Flopping, selling fouls, and playing to the whistle are things you'll see across the NBA, from stars to role players, because the league's rules and officiating have incentivized it at times. Even coaches like Steve Kerr have acknowledged that as a league-wide issue, not something tied to one player. On the injury side, recurring issues over multiple seasons, ankle, foot, groin, are actually pretty normal for someone deep into their career, especially at LeBron's age and workload. Playing 20+ seasons at a high level puts real wear on the body. It's fair to question effort in specific possessions or games, but suggesting a pattern of faking or timing injuries to avoid pressure is a serious claim that isn't backed by verified reports from teams, doctors, or the league.as. For the broader old school vs new school criticism, guys like Kevin Garnett often talk about toughness, grit, and playing through pain, and that perspective is valid from their era. But the modern game is different. More pace, more spacing, more games, and a bigger emphasis on longevity and efficiency. What looks like less grit to some is often just a different approach to preserving performance over a longer season. So yeah, criticizing effort, body language, or specific plays is completely fair. But jumping from that to saying his acting, quitting, or being protected in some unique way goes beyond what the actual evidence shows.
But bro, let's not talk about the gamemanship, and let's not talk about the physicality of the game back then. Because I only think half these kids in the league could have been on an NBA team 20 years ago. It was too grown.
A lot of this is more about narrative than reality. Players from different eras always gravitate toward different role models. Some prefer the style of Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, while others grew up studying LeBron James. That doesn't mean the younger generation sees through a facade, it just reflects personal preference in playstyle and mentality. Even today, plenty of young players openly credit LeBron for his longevity, IQ, and versatility. As for respect around the league, it hasn't disappeared, it's just expressed differently now. The NBA is more outspoken, more social media driven, and players are far more comfortable speaking confidently or even provocatively. That doesn't automatically equal disrespect. It's part of a culture shift where confidence and branding go hand in hand. The killer instinct versus fun personality comparison is also a bit oversimplified. LeBron showing personality or calling himself a kid doesn't erase 2 decades of elite production, playoff runs, and championships. Different stars lead and carry themselves in different ways. Jordan and Kobe had one approach, LeBron has another. Neither style is the only valid version of competitiveness. So while it's fair to critique specific moments, effort, leadership decisions, late-game execution, the idea that the league has collectively lost respect for him or that younger players are rejecting him outright isn't really supported by how players actually talk about him across the board.
If you don't want to, you don't have to. Who's the most overrated player in the NBA right now?
Overrated? I'll probably say LeBron right now. Overrated.
He's getting a little old.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like he's overrated right now.
It's worth separating strong opinions from verified facts. Statements like a player being overrated are just that, opinions, and players like LeBron James have been the subject of criticism and praise throughout their entire careers. In today's NBA, players and commentators are also much more willing to voice blunt takes publicly than in past eras, so comparisons to how things would have been with Michael Jordan or Larry Bird don't really account for how media culture has changed. As for claims about emergency meetings, behind-the-scenes pressure, or legends pushing the front office to cut ties, those are not confirmed reports. Front offices, including the Los Angeles Lakers, operate with a lot of confidentiality, and major roster or contract decisions are typically handled through standard internal evaluation processes, not publicized emergency interventions led by former players. You can find individual voices, like former players or analysts, offering opinions on a player's future, and someone like Byron Scott may speak candidly, but that still reflects personal perspective rather than an official organizational directive. So while debate around LeBron's current level, role, and future is completely normal, the specific idea that there's a coordinated push from legends inside the organization to force him out isn't supported by reliable evidence.
I mean, I think this should be his last year here.
Not in the NBA, just here.
No, just here.
Okay.
You know, I really.
You don't got to go home, but you got to go.
Yeah, you know, it's Moore's Day. You know what I'm saying?
That's
you don't have
it.
to go home, but you got to get the hell out of here.
The framing here leans heavily on speculation and narrative rather than verifiable facts. While it's true that LeBron James is one of the most scrutinized figures in the NBA, there's no credible evidence that legends want him out, that a locker room or front office consensus is pushing him out, or that incidents like a supposed tunnel confrontation with Shaquille O'Neal occurred as described. Those claims are not supported by reliable reporting. That it's also important to separate fan discourse and social media reactions from organizational reality. Front offices, like the Los Angeles Lakers, base decisions on performance evaluations, contracts, health, and long-term planning, not viral narratives or outside pressure from former players. Similarly, commentary from legends such as Kevin Garnett reflects personal opinion and perspective, not coordinated action or official influence. On the analytics side, basketball is complex. Lineup performance can vary based on matchups, roles, and sample sizes. Drawing a sweeping conclusion that a team is better off without a player of LeBron's caliber based on selective snapshots oversimplifies how teams actually function over full season. Ultimately, debate about his legacy, current level, and fit is normal and likely to continue, but separating opinion, interpretation, and confirmed fact is key to having an accurate conversation.